What I wanted to do is get our financials out of the way, in part so you'll just get a snapshot of that. Mike Lehman, who is our Chief Financial Officer, who's also my office mate, and as I like to remind people, he has a much more comfortable desk and a much better view of the Bay than I do. He'll be here to walk you through the details of what progress we've made, what's in front of us, what more work we have to go do. And for the majority of my time in front of you, what I'd like to do is give you a sense of how we see the markets opening up across the world, where we see that growth emerging, what are some of the top-level trends, and how are we orienting our R&D to go pursue those markets. We think the market is just going to continue to grow. It may not always be growing every place on Earth, but it's certainly going to be a vibrant economy. As you all take the pictures you're taking right now, most of them will end up on the web. And as the CEO of AT&T said recently at a conference, please feel free to keep your cell phones and pagers on because they drive a lot of network traffic, and that ultimately is good for our business. So by all means, you can feel free to make calls while you're here. And then, beyond 2008, where do we see the real markets beginning to head? We really believe we're still at the very beginning of what is a pronounced and extended expansion of the global network and network economy. So I thought I'd start with just a quick snapshot of how we did in our second quarter. We just announced our second quarter a few weeks ago. And it was a quarter in which lots of people were wondering about what's going on in the US economy, what's going on in the global economy, and geez, it seems to us if the economy slows, the first thing that you'd cut would be technology. And the point we made was actually quite the opposite. If business gets tough, you drive efficiency, and you drive automation, and you look for easier and more effective mechanisms to go reach the marketplace. And therefore, we actually saw quite a bit of tailwind as we left the quarter, in the sense that we saw good bookings growth. Bookings are orders that are given to Sun that have not converted to revenue, so in some sense, they're a good indication of what's to come. We saw fantastic growth in deferred revenue, over 20% year over year. And again, deferred revenue is revenue to be recognized in the periods following. And in general, we saw a very robust demand for the products to us that are really leading indicators of where we go next. Among our most exciting systems products or hardware products was our Niagara 2 chip multi-threading systems. These at this point are 64-way servers on a single chip. That business, our Niagara business, was around $285 million within the quarter, or roughly 100% up year over year. And why? Because the customers wanted it. They see the requirements around data center efficiency, eco-efficiency, which just translates to them to lower power bills, getting more work done with less infrastructure. It's partly a result of the success we're seeing with Solaris 10, which obviously is the featured operating system on those Niagara systems. But across the board, we saw good growth on our high-end systems. We saw good growth in some of the core software segments. And the net result of that growth was we were able to not only deliver top-line growth, but we also delivered great gross margins. And to us, gross margins are really the best way of saying customers value what we're selling to them. Because again, if they don't find any value, they either don't buy from you or they don't pay very much for it. And in the business, we recognized we saw good to great gross margins, about 48.5%. And the net result of that was we delivered a very healthy bottom line. Our operating income was very robust. And again, if you look back over the past couple of years, the majority of our improvements in operating profitability, which at this point have been consistent and predictable and really giving us a great foundation going forward, the majority have come as a result of increases in business, increases in gross margin, and not from cost cutting. So that's an important transition for Sun. We're very much now oriented toward growing the top line as well as the bottom line. And the growth we're going to get, primarily, we're orienting toward revenue growth, gross margin expansion, and ultimately market expansion. So the real reason to have one slide devoted to this is for the marketplace, our financials were of interest and of relevance for our core customers 3 or 4 years ago. We don't talk about this anymore. We have a very stable, very solid business that's very profitable, generates a lot of cash, So this is now certainly an element, and certainly a focal point for our shareholders. But in terms of what our core customers care about, they're much, much more interested in what are the products, what's the roadmap, what's the innovation, what's your view of the future, and we're obviously full participants in that dialogue.